All right. Awesome. Hi, everyone. So welcome to your U at UCalgary. This is such an exciting time, and we're all so excited to be welcoming you here. So we're just gonna quickly start out with some introductions. So my name is Carolyn, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm in the health and society major, and I'll pass it to Noelle to introduce herself.
My name is Noelle, and I am a fourth year bioinformatics student.
Brian, if you want to.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a fourth year biomedical sciences student.
And then we have Logan, who is our program coordinator.
Hi, everybody. I'm the one that you'll be getting a lot of emails from, and I'll be guiding you through your registration process in the month of May. Welcome to the program. We're also very happy to have you join us today.
And I'll also ask Tharwat to introduce himself as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the program engagement specialist in the BHSE program. I organize events, and I will be pairing you guys up as well for the buddy program with a senior student later on in the summer. Welcome.
Before we get started, I just had a few quick notes for the onset. So firstly, we just do ask that you keep your microphones muted throughout the presentation. If you do have questions, you can easily type them into the chat and we'll do our best to address them all at the end. Secondly, we will be recording the presentation. So if you're not comfortable like seeing a recording, just keep your video off. And you can perhaps stay behind at the end if you were wanting to ask a question with your camera on. So before we get started, I do think it's important for us to do a land acknowledgement. So I think over the years I've gained an appreciation for kind of situating our land acknowledgement instead of just it being something that we kind of say tokenistically. So you're coming into the University of Calgary, which is an organization that has acknowledged that it wants to work towards something called forging parallel paths or walking parallel paths, walk path reconciliation alongside Indigenous peoples. So there are a lot of opportunities at the University of Calgary to get involved in Indigenous reconciliation activity, whether through research or simply just educating yourself. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that as a settler-based institution, the University of Calgary perhaps has power, and there are barriers to entry into the University of Calgary that exclude Indigenous students or have excluded them historically. There's a lot of work being done to rectify that, but I do think it's important to acknowledge that the University of Calgary, which is located in the heart of Southern Alberta, both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 territory, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nations, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. So we're just going to start out with a quick poll for everyone who's here today. So just letting us know, how are you feeling about starting university? I know when I was coming into starting university, I think I was terrified, nervous. I had no idea what was going to go on. So if you just want to put your answers into the chat, we'd love to just gauge how you're feeling. Eager, good. There's a lot to look forward to. Excited, nervous, eager, good mix, ready to go. Wow, I'm seeing lots of people that, might be a little bit nervous, but are excited and eager, ready to go. Great, excited and terrified. More relational to my experience. Awesome. Ready to go. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your answers. I'm pleasantly surprised to see that not many people are terrified, and nobody is enthused. So we have a lot of bright and excited minds coming into the BHSC program. So just to give you an idea of what I'm going to do, myself, Brian, and Noelle are just going to lead you through some introductions to ourselves and kind of take you through a quasi timeline of our experiences in the program over the past, I guess for me, it would be 4.5 years, or 5 years now, crazily. And for Brian, well, 4. And then we're just going to conclude with some more informal, like roundtable discussions, and then we'll have a Q&A period in which you can ask all the questions. And then just before we move on, I believe that Jennifer had a couple things to mention.
I just wanted to let you know that you will have a point at one point in the presentation. There will be the opportunity for you to sort of note your attendance here so that you can access the earlier registration date. And I will just rest assured there will be lots of communication coming out from the program to guide you through the registration process as a BHSC student. So anyway, just stay tuned and look for emails from me.
Awesome. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass it on to Noelle to introduce herself.
Right, so I'm going to be starting off the introductions. I'm going to start with the question, what is bioinformatics? I'm honestly still trying to figure it out myself, and I think every bioinformatics student will say this, but simply put, bioinformatics is the use of different computational tools to answer complex questions in biology and medicine. So a lot of what you do in the BIMF courses are composed of different projects and lessons that teach you how to work with big data to solve some sort of medical problem. And in the program itself, you'll get the chance to do at least 4 different computer science classes and 5 different bioinformatics specific courses, where you'll get the chance to learn about different bioinformatics techniques and get to actually create your own small bioinformatics research projects. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so since all of you are actually going to be entering your first year, I thought I'd start off with talking about my experience when I was a first year bioinformatics student. So I would say right off the bat, the program was quite an adjustment, which is the same with any program in university. But overall, the major components of bioinformatics that I was pretty new to were our combined medical science classes, which taught us how to write papers. And my computer science classes also were a pretty big adjustment. So as a bioinformatics student, you have to take 2 different computer science classes in first year. You'll take an introduction to Python class and an introduction to Java class. And as a student that didn't actually have a lot of experience with comp sci prior to entering the program, it was a little bit challenging, but also an experience that taught me some very useful skills. And so you'll notice that when you actually start university, there will be initially a learning curve, especially if you're doing something new like comp sci. But over time, you'll find that your hard work was really worth it, and that you'll really learn how to balance your schoolwork, extracurriculars, and your social life to sort of maximize your uni experience. So on the right is a pic of one of my friends and I chilling in a medical science class. And as a student in BHSC, this is like also another really nice thing about the program. The program is really, really small, so you'll get the chance to make a ton of really, really close friends, which is always nice. Next slide, please. So another really cool part about the program is the different opportunities that you'll actually get exposed to. So BHSC is a research-based program that ends in an honors thesis. And because of that, there's a lot of opportunity to get funded for your research during the summer. And there's also a lot more opportunities to partake in research. And this is like the really nice part about being a bioinformatics student too, is that a lot of research labs are actually looking for bioinformatics students just because they're looking for people that can actually conduct the data analysis portion of their research. And so in all of your bioinformatics courses as well, you'll either work in groups or you're going to work alone to kind of create your own small but unique bioinformatics project that will be specific to the content that you actually learned. So for example, I did a course called MedSci 523 in my 3rd year, which is known as Artificial Intelligence Applications in Health. And in that course, I got to work with data and different machine learning algorithms and classification techniques to determine different factors involved in heart failure. So the picture on the left is me kind of is me giving like a little keynote speech for a research awards presentation. I won like a studentship back when I was in second year called Pure that allowed me to conduct funded research over the summer. And then the picture on the right is me with my club with one of my clubs, and we just took a picture of an award that we recently won at the SU Clubs Day. And so that's another really cool part about it too. In bioinformatics, I've been able to focus a lot of my extracurriculars around research and around education as well, which is nice. Right, next slide. Okay, so I would say one of the nicer parts of bioinformatics is actually how small our major is. So bioinformatics generally tends to be one of the smaller majors in health sci, and that's super nice because you can form a really close group of friends that help you get through all of your really tough bioinformatics and computer science classes. I think it also makes it great so you actually can get more one-on-one attention with your professors and more support to actually excel as a bioinformatics student. So for example, with the current director of bioinformatics, I'm creating new projects with him as part of some of my extracurricular activities. So there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration and skill development. So the picture on the bottom left is one of my friends and I just chilling in Feesby Lounge after one of our classes. And then the picture in the middle is a picture of my friend and I that I actually met her at a research symposium that I was presenting at. And then the picture on the top right is of my friends and I at the Health Sciences Students Association Gala. And so every year, the Health Sciences Students Association throws our annual gala. And it's just a night for you to hang out with other BHSC students and CRD SSA students. So there's a lot of opportunities to just hang out in the program too, which is great. And with that, I'll pass it on to Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you, Noelle. So as you probably, detectived out at the beginning when I mentioned I was in my 5th year, but you think to yourself, wait, I thought this was a 4-year program. I'm actually, even though I am an HSOC major and fully allegiant to the health sciences program, I'm also a double major in international indigenous studies. So I'm in my 5th year of that. I guess make a quick note on concentrations if you're in the HSOC major. So for those of you who don't know, the health and society major does have to pick a social science concentration going into their 2nd year. And I actually selected sociology for mine. The picture on the right here, I think I like to start out this because it's one of my most proud things that I did throughout university, and that was the Sustainable Development Goals Summit in 2021. So we hosted a week-long event. I co-chair the Sustainable Development Goals Alliance, and we hosted a week-long event to bring together students, community members, and leaders within the sustainability industry to focus on pursuing actionable sustainable change on campus. And as a result of that, we actually saw multiple funded sustainability projects that were implemented on campus. For example, solar phone chargers being put in the Taylor Family Digital Library. SLIP projects after that have actually included a styrofoam recycling program at the Foothills Hospital, which diverted tons of styrofoam from entering the landfill, which is super fantastic. So if you're all interested in sustainability, I would encourage you to get involved during your time. I wanted to present this as a bit of a timeline, but while encapsulating the closeness and the community that's created by the health and society major. So just like bioinformatics, the health and society major is a smaller program. So we oftentimes create super tight-knit friendships as a result of that. So even when we were online during COVID, and I was even doing school from Victoria at that time, we still had the opportunity and the ability to create really close relationships with other people in the program. So I have a funny group photo that we took during our medical science statistics course that health and society students usually take in their 2nd year. Just moving on to when we were kind of getting back to in-person stuff, I think that one of my favorite aspects of this program, in addition to solely the community, is the energy that people have to actually organize events, both organize events and also attend them and make the most of them. So the Health Students Association Gala is actually organized by students themselves. So the Health Sciences Student Association is made up of student leaders within the health sciences program who choose to join. And then they themselves actually primarily organize this event, which is a ton of effort and put it on for current health sciences students. So this is a picture of the 2022 gala of health and society majors. As you can see, we're having a blast. And yeah, we have that every year, and that's a fantastic opportunity to both get involved in a leadership position within the health sciences program, but also to attend great events that they put on and get to know your other students, because that can be an incredibly fulfilling part of being in university as a whole. With this slide, I wanted to highlight some of the, like Noelle, amazing opportunities that being in this program has allotted me. So I think I've gained, in your first year, although you're exposed to a lot of content in terms of understanding health science more broadly as a whole and understanding your major, you're also concurrently exposed to really important leadership skills like public speaking and engaging with an audience that have been invaluable in my experience, and I know in the experience of other health sciences students, in being able to achieve and explore some of the avenues that they want to explore in their undergrad. So on the left is a picture at the Bachelor of Health Sciences Research Symposium, which is an annual research symposium which offers BHSC students the opportunity to either present their research in a poster format, which you will either learn all about, or 4 students, so one from each major, is selected to present an oral presentation on their research. And I was lucky enough to present on my thesis work actually during that time. There's tons of other opportunities to get involved in stuff at the University of Calgary. So on the right is a picture of me providing a Insight Speaker Series talk for Scholars Academy program on exploring value in healthcare, which I won't get into too deeply. But I just wanted to use this to amplify that if you enjoy communicating knowledge to others and you really enjoy engaging with others in terms of public speaking and sharing what there is to be shared about knowledge in the world, I think that there are tons of opportunities to do that, and many more beyond what I'm showing here and in many different formats. Finally, I thought I would include a picture from my honors thesis oral defense, which actually happened just about a year ago. This is from the health and society students that defended their thesis, and the wonderful person in the middle is Dr. Ting, who is actually now the director for the program. So super amazing. And yeah, I mean, the community created by not only within the Bachelor of Health Sciences program themselves, because I would say that we've created a tight-knit community throughout the majors, but especially within the health and society major, is really unmatched to other programs from what I've heard collaborating with other students. It really makes the experience something that you can both find extremely fulfilling academically and in an extracurricular sense, but also in which you can make friends that you will have for the rest of your life. And with that, I will pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, so the thesis defense that Carolyn showed the picture of that. Noelle and I actually had ours yesterday, but we don't have any photos of that. It was really exciting. That's kind of the day you look forward to during your undergrad, because like you're done your thesis, you're done your entire project, you're ready to graduate. But I'll talk a bit about my experience in the biomedical sciences program, which kind of in general, biomedical sciences is looking at health and disease from pathways, mechanisms, and there are multiple ways to do that. You can look at it at a cellular level, You can look at it at a tissue level, and you can also look at it at a whole body level. So biomedical sciences is very versatile. There's so much flexibility within that. But I'll talk about my experience. So the picture of me on the left is me working in my lab. So I work with cells. So I'm in that area. It's called a biosafety cabinet, and it has to be a sterile space for me to work with my cells in culture. The picture of me on the right, I'm with a friend and Rex, who happens to be Carolyn. Carolyn was Rex that day. That was at the open house actually, and we talked a bit about the health sciences program, and just connecting with some of the incoming first years. I don't know if any of you were there, anyone in the chat here, but overall, it's a great community, and I'll talk a bit about some of my other experiences as well. Yeah, so the MDSC 407 statistics project, that's a course you take in third year for biomedical sciences student. There's a lot of flexibility in classes, and there are opportunities to have like fun projects. And one of the things that we did was create a magazine, and we're talking about some statistics in the workplace. And then on the left is kind of our magazine cover. And then on the right, the HISA Gala, we mentioned it before, but that's just me and a friend just taking photos. So the HISA Gala is really fun. I really encourage first years to come, because a lot of the times it's just fourth years and third years who end up going. But I personally think going in first year, connecting with the upper years, connecting just with people across in your program who you might have not met, and even the community rehab and disability studies, I think is a great opportunity. And then also another fun project that we did in second year, you take cell bio, and you have the opportunity to analyze a novel healthcare or novel cellular based question. And what we ended up doing was we did line dancing, and we made a song which is on Spotify. It's called Thank You Ma'am. If you ever want to check us out, the Backroad Boys. And we did a line dance and talked about mitochondria associated membranes, which was really fun. I genuinely think the opportunities in our courses to show really who you are and present in different styles is great, and you'll never get that in a different program. Some other things that I've done on campus. So I'm co-president for a club called Man Up for Mental Health, which is like breaking gender stigmas surrounding mental health. And one of the things that we do, I don't know if you can see it in the bottom left, is we set up benches in Mac Hall, bench presses, and then we lift the burden of mental health as a metaphor. And based on how much you bench, you get prizes. So it's just a great way for us to get involved on campus, and there are a lot of opportunities for you as well to get involved both at Foothills through potentially the Health Sciences Students Association and at main campus as well. Because in first year, you'll primarily be on main campus, except for your MDSC, your med sci courses. So there's great opportunity there. And then on the right, I had the opportunity to go on an exchange as well in the summer of my second year. And I went to Korea University and had like a great time. I took courses in humanities, learning about Korean culture and Korean society, which is something that you can't necessarily, I wouldn't say, you can't get in the biomed program itself. So taking that opportunity to try something new is really valuable. And Carolyn also went on a few exchanges, study abroad programs, and I would think that she also recommends it a lot. And it was a great experience for me. So if you have the opportunity to take an exchange, please do. And then finally, I'm going to talk a bit about research, which is what kind of biomed is centered around. So on the left is a picture of actually mitochondria. So the red is the powerhouse of the cells. They're not individual like beans, but they're actually very long networks. And I study how those change in immune cells. And then the blue is the nucleus. I'm sure everyone's heard of that in their bio grade 11 and 12 courses. But that's my current thesis project, which I defended yesterday, actually, yeah. And then on the right is a course called MDSC 402, where I got to work with chicken embryos and I analyzed blood, like vascular, like the blood vessels you see on the right there. And we used escitalopram and antidepressant and saw how that changed the vasculature of these chicken embryos. So in these courses, in your undergrad, you have the opportunity to try out so many different things in terms of research, and it really is fun. So I highly suggest taking advantage of all the opportunities you get. So moving on, we have a quick Rex challenge. It's a video provided by the U of C. It'll be a nice break if you want to watch the video.
Just making sure I'm sharing my sound.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Rex, the UCalgary mascot and #1 Dinos fan. This incoming class is looking dynamite. Cheering for dinos is my thing. Without you guys, I'd be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Jurassic times call for Jurassic measures, so I've got a rarsome challenge just for you. Keep an eye on your inbox. You'll receive more details shortly. This challenge will be online, not on the field. So you won't have to worry about getting dinosaur. Complete my challenge and you'll be entered to win the You at UCalgary Rex's Challenge Award valued at 1,000 Canadian dollars. Be sure to watch your email for more instructions after the event. Go Dinos!
Amazing video. Thank you, Carolyn. I highly encourage everyone to participate in the Rex challenge, and hopefully those jokes were funny. Yeah. Moving on, we're gonna have a quick poll. If you want to type in the chat what major you're in, it's primarily gonna be biomed. That's what ends up happening, but it'd be nice to see what everyone's in. Oh my God. Everyone's in biomed. Is there anyone else? No? No H. Oh, okay, we have an HSOC. Wow, okay. We have one HSOC. Okay. But yeah, that's what ends up happening. And yeah, biomed is pretty large, so you get to know a lot of people. Yeah. Moving on. We'll start some of the roundtable discussions. So we had a few questions that are commonly asked, and we're gonna just go through them, share our experiences, share our opinions for that. So we'll get on straight with the first one.
All right, so we're going to talk about the differences and similarities between our majors. So I'll start off with talking about bioinformatics. So with bioinformatics, you work pretty closely with biomedical sciences students. In your first and your second year, you do some combined medical science writing courses. And then your second year, you also do some combined honor cell and molecular courses and genetics courses as well. But with bioinformatics, you have the option to actually branch out into comp sci. So for myself, I chose to do a path where I'm doing more of these biology-based courses and medical science courses. But you also have the chance to do different computer science courses if you're a bioinformatics major. So a lot of my friends are actually doing minors in computer science. And so that's pretty cool. And then I really like being able to do computer science just because you get the chance to approach problems from a different and a computational perspective. And you also get to gain perspectives even outside of the BHSC program. So we actually work with a lot of different comp sci students and software engineering students, and a lot of them are actually really passionate about how you can actually apply computer science and software engineering to solving health related problems. So they're great for also collaborating with. And as the smallest major, there's opportunity to stand out as well and build a skill set that's very unique. The research that you get to do in bioinformatics is extremely unique, and you can apply to so many different areas. So I think that's really great. And I think um, interdisciplinary work in general really allows you to have that sort of exploration. And it kind of allows me to combine my favorite aspects, which are medical science and comp sci. And so I'm going to throw it to Carolyn to talk about HSOC, and especially as another major where you can specialize into different concentrations.
Yeah, so I think the health and society program is also like very flexible and highly interdisciplinary. There are tons of research and career opportunities that come from it. Health and society students, I think, have very diverse paths that they follow after their undergrad degree. One of the reasons for the kind of interdisciplinary diversity, I suppose, in the program is because of the concentrations. So as I alluded to earlier, as a health and society student, you pick a social science concentration for your undergrad. Just off the top of my head, these include psychology, sociology, anthropology, geography, political science, community rehab and disability studies, economics. I might be forgetting one, but those are some of the key ones that I know students have chosen to concentrate in and have found extremely fulfilling throughout their undergrad. I think the main marker of the health and society program, though, the focus on upstream or population level health approach. So that means that health and society majors, instead of looking at treating the symptoms of a disease once it manifests, health and society majors look more so at preventing that disease from occurring in the first place and improving population health as a whole, and understanding it as not simply being the absence of disease. So health is not just not being sick, for example, but health encompasses a more holistic view of what makes somebody's life well. Health and society majors focus on enhancing that from an upstream public health informed lens. It really feels like a community of students. Not only are you super connected to other students within your major, but you also gain communities within the concentrations that you take. At least that's what I found. As well, there will likely be other health and society students that are concentrating in your area. So you do form a community with students that are concentrating in the same social science. And we also do get health and society specific courses, which really help with not only allowing us to dive really deep into understanding population health as a whole, but also create that really tight-knit community, because there's a lot of collaborative group work and a lot of support that comes just from being in the health and society as a whole. Further, we have really unique research opportunities. So as I mentioned, with our focus on more upstream health issues, but also our diversity in terms of social science concentration, but also research interests, there is an incredible diversity of what you can do for your research and also for your thesis. So I actually did my honors thesis looking at Indigenous identification in healthcare data in Alberta's medical health record system, which is super fascinating. But I know people who looked at healthcare perspectives on certain things, who did statistically focused projects on radon, for example. So there's a lot of great stuff that you could do within the program. And with that, I will pass on to Brian to chat about biomed.
So yeah, so some of the biggest differences I would say in biomed versus HSOC and BIM is that biomed is like looking at these pathways and you do it like you investigate it in person, I guess. I think what I do, at least, I have to go into lab and conduct these experiments like I'm working directly with the cells or the mice or any kind of animal model like the chicken embryo that I'm using. So in that sense, you are more, I guess, attached to your work like physically. And I would say that's probably the biggest difference between the majors. I will say there are in biomed, you do have more of a science background. You'll take the three sciences like biochem, physics in first year. We'll talk about that later. But there is more of that looking at the cellular level, looking at physiological stuff, and having to take courses in that. So I think those are the two main differences. In terms of similarities, it was echoed before, but the biggest one is that everything is so interdisciplinary. I think people think, oh, biomed is just like the science, but then biomed also involves HSOC. HSOC also involves biomed, and same thing for BIMF. Like everything's so interconnected. I know a lot of biomed students who have research, who do research in HSOC and who do research in BIMF, or combine the two. It's very versatile, and I think that's probably the greatest thing about health sciences. There's so much flexibility. There's so many opportunities. If you're passionate about something, you can find a way to investigate that using a biomedical lens or even an HSOC or a BIMF lens. So I would say that's probably the best similarity between the majors that we have.
All right, I think we can move on to the next slide then. Okay, we're going to talk about our experiences with our first year classes as well. So I'll start off. So we had exposure to one bioinformatics class in our first year, and this course is basically just to help you understand the importance of bioinformatics in the future of healthcare. And then you also get exposed to two computer science classes, your introduction to Python class, introduction to Java class. So that was probably the newest experience for me. I didn't have any coding experience prior to entering university, so it was a bit of an adjustment at first, but I ended up to really grow to like computer science and use it in basically all of my classes now. So I thought that was really, really exciting. But I would say in my first year, that was probably what stood out the most, just those computer science classes and then getting introduced to actually what bioinformatics is as a whole. And I'll pass it on to Carolyn.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about MedSci 203 and 205, which are two interdisciplinary courses that all health sciences student, or the three main majors, health and society, biomed, informatics, will take together in their first year. So these courses really focus on building up your academic skills kind of from a start the ground running perspective. So you're really involved and incorporated in course into not only understanding how to read scientific literature, but also how to search for like just basic searching mechanisms, databases you should use. You do get a few sessions with the health science librarian who teach you about not only how to navigate databases, but also just how to, for example, import a citation for your literature, which becomes very, very, very important. You will also pick a tease with a group of students made up of all three majors to focus on for the term, in which you'll do both medical focused and health and society focused presentation. So you not only gain group work and collaboration skills, which are so important for the rest of your university experience. I think if there are any kinks to be ironed out, this is the class in which that really can effectively. But you also do multiple presentations with your group members, which really help build your confidence and skill set in public speaking and providing presentations on information that is complicated, but then you need to be able to communicate in a clear and relatable way to your audience, which becomes a really fundamental skill later on, especially, now the three of us we've just defended our thesis. I think that the skills that we gained within those first year courses really set the stage for being able to successfully defend an honors thesis. I think also the group portion, the small group portion of the first year medical sciences really gives you an opportunity to make friends. So I actually made quite a few friends in my first year. My initial group that I ended up staying in contact with throughout the rest of my undergraduate experience. So that is also incredibly valuable just to get you integrated with other students in the program. For health and society specifically, you will take a course called Health and Society 201 that basically provides an introduction to health and society and the various social science perspectives that you can use to target health from an upstream approach. This is one of my favorite courses from my undergrad, so I think that it just provided such a robust ability to understand health from so many different perspectives. And I would really encourage health and society students to branch out of what they maybe are initially thinking they want to concentrate in. So if you have an idea of social science you want to do, that's great. But there are so many others that can offer such unique opportunities that you might want to check out. Not trying to dissuade you from your first choice coming in, but I think that there's a lot to be learned from the other concentrations. I've taken a lot of anthropology courses, for example, in my last year and a half or so, and I've found that the perspective gained from looking from another social science perspective has been invaluable, really, for me. And I'll pass it on to Brian.
Yeah, so for biomed, yeah, so first off, we had our classes on Zoom. Noelle and I had our first year classes on Zoom, but I think the things that I talk about are still very applicable. So in your first year, you have your 203, your MDSC 203 and 205, which Carolyn talked about. I think for 205, so for 203, it's learning how to write and analyze scientific literature, academic literature, and then you have your presentations as well in groups. 205, you take in your second semester, the winter one, and that's more the science of philosophy. Like, why do we think, like, what is science? What are humans? So in that course as well, you have a lot of writing. So I think the biggest thing for the Met in your first year is that you'll have a lot of writing and you need to develop the skills early so that you can be better prepared for your thesis. And I know Carolyn mentioned that as well. So I just wanted to echo that again. For the other courses, for both semesters, you have your biochem physics for both semesters, and then you have math and English. So I guess you could say it's kind of like a repeat of high school, but it's very different in that you have to manage your time really well. And because you have all these labs, like I had a bio lab on Thursday for 3 hours and then a physics lab on Friday for 3 hours. So, and then you have to write lab reports for that. You have to do pre-labs for that. You have to do a lab assignment during the actual lab, and then you have to do a post-lab report. So there are so many things that you have to be prepared for. Not to scare anyone, but I'm saying like the three sciences, it is a bit difficult. And in your first year, you really do have to develop those skills and figure out what learning style works for you and hopefully master that by the time you're in fourth year. Moving on to the next one. Well,
Awesome. Okay, so we want you to tell us in the chat what topics are you most interested in learning about? If it's medical science, maybe you're interested in learning about the social determinants of health, maybe physiology. I would say comp sci, there's no bioinformatics students though. No one is excited about learning any new topics? Physiology and medical sciences. Okay, great. Yeah, you'll get the chance to do a lot of different medical science courses throughout the program. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, basically all of your BHSC degree is going to be medical science, especially if you're biomed. Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah, comp sci is a great skill to learn, and you can 100% learn it as a biomedical sciences student. I know a lot of biomedical sciences students that are doing research in bioinformatics, so it's definitely doable. Great. Okay, I'll give it a couple more seconds. Okay, I think we can move on to the next page.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think we'll just talk really quick about what our favorite courses of our degree has been. My answer is actually changing slightly from last year, interestingly, due to a course that I took this year. So I think I'll start out with that one because it's been so impactful and recent. Sociology of Family Homelessness is an advanced sociology class that I'm actually in right now. And it's just been so deeply engaging. And we, for example, do volunteering as a part of the program. And I work as a research associate in the area of looking at homelessness and harm type topics. So I've just found this course to be so enlightening in terms of understanding homelessness as a concept, but also being able to link it back to the research exposure that I've had about my undergrad program and understand homelessness in relation to health and how understanding homelessness better can lead to better interventions, especially in terms of family homelessness. So incredibly fascinating class. You do have to finish taking the sociology concentration basics before you take it, but would highly recommend if you're considering a concentration in sociology. Secondly, HSOC 591. So that's your Health and Society seminar course. I found that class to be just incredibly enlightening and fulfilling. I mean, it's the last class that you have with all the Health and Society students in your cohort together. So it's based on community that you've built already throughout your undergrad. You get to pick a unique country that you want to focus on and talk about a specific health phenomena or disease from an upstream perspective. It's just incredibly fascinating. I talked about sleep deprivation and like sleep related outcomes in Japan, Bangladesh during that course, which I found incredibly fascinating. And actually, though I don't know if this is common for all students, I actually think my thesis course is one of my favorite courses, I suppose, but also just kind of an experiential process. I think that I had an excellent supervisor, and the knowledge that I gained throughout my thesis program really provided me a strong foundation for not only pursuing other opportunities myself post thesis for research, but also just understanding how power of knowledge and how it can directly impact real world actions. As I mentioned earlier, I did my thesis looking at identifying Alberta health services for Indigenous people in the province. And to know that that project was kind of directly done to influence the decision that Alberta Health Services is going to make in regards to Indigenous identification is just incredibly meaningful. And I think just opened up some avenues of curiosity for me. I think that I would encourage you not to shy away from challenging courses because oftentimes they can be the most valuable and rewarding. You will grow and learn more as students, of course, as you move through, but the takeaways from really committing yourself to things that maybe make you step outside of your comfort zone a little bit, I think will stay with you for the rest of your life and out much more class that you just kind of don't have to think about very much and don't really take much away from. So with that, I will pass it on to Noelle.
All right, so going off of what Carolyn said, actually, like some of the most challenging courses I've taken at U of C have also been the most rewarding, solely because I just felt really proud of myself for getting through them and learning from them because I ended up actually becoming really passionate about some of those topics too because they were relevant to my degree as well. So I would say one of the challenging courses I took in first year actually was MedSci 201. And it's been one of my favorite classes so far. It was actually where I first got introduced to bioinformatics, and through it, I got to interact with so many of my fellow bioinformatics students in fourth year for the first time. And it taught me about different basic bioinformatics techniques and really sparked my passion for bioinformatics and for creating change in the field too. So yeah, I was super passionate about the course, even though it was hard to handle. It was a block week course, so it was done in the span of a week. And by the end of the week, you had to build like an entire research project with another person that was in the program. So that was pretty difficult as a first year student, and also similar to Carolyn, I really enjoyed the chance to do my thesis as well. MedSci has been a really difficult but rewarding experience. And I think I learned a lot about myself, what I'd like and dislike about the research process. But ultimately, I really appreciate the opportunities it's provided me with and how much I've been able to learn. And it's really nice seeing how I was able to grow over the year and how I was able to grow from a first year student to now a fourth year student. And I'll pass it on to Brian now.
Yeah, so same thing. I really enjoyed my thesis and I learned a lot from that. I wouldn't say it was my favorite course, if I'm being honest. I will say I think my favorite course of my entire degree was MDSC 402. I don't know if everyone remembers the chicken eggs, the chicken embryos that I talked about earlier. So I was in a group of 5 and we developed a novel question about literally anything we wanted. And we looked at antidepressants and how that changes potentially cardiovascular outcomes. And having the opportunity to really do what you want and investigate something that you're interested in was probably the best part about that course. So if in third year, I help biomed students have the opportunity to take MDSC 402 or MDSC 417, 419, and those are kind of similar in themes. You get to develop your own research question and then answer it using biomedical techniques. So if you're really interested in a specific topic and you want to research it further, I think courses like MDSC 402 and 417, 419 can really help you expand your own knowledge and help you learn a lot. So I think 402 was probably my favorite course of the degree, of my entire degree. Yeah. And moving on, Carolyn.
Yeah. Awesome. So just a quick poll. Have you ever had any research experience? As you probably can tell from our presentations thus far, the Bachelor of Health Sciences program is very research focused. So research is integrated into the program, but I will say there's absolutely no expectation to have any research experience at all beforehand. I had a grand total of 0 minutes, 0 hours working in the lab or doing anything like that, working with researchers beforehand. So yeah, I would just like to hear the responses. Okay, yeah, C, we're seeing C's from everyone, so that's great. No, but I want to try it out. So yeah, I think that excitement is great. I mean, everybody forms a different relationship with research, but there are so many different types of research that you can do, so many different topics. So if you don't like a certain research process, or maybe you don't align with the process in the lab that you're working in, for example, there are so many different opportunities to explore different research processes, different topics, and oftentimes different disciplines or even sub-disciplines or subtopics of a discipline have really different ways in which they go about research. And that both is from like a methodology, like what you're actually doing to get to your answer, but also in terms of the community that you have or the people that you work with and what, whether you're traveling, for example, to present your work or not. So I think that excitement is good. And I would encourage you that even if, you start out and you're like, I'm not really sure if this is exactly what I want to do, to really branch out and explore, because there are countless opportunities to get involved in really, I would say, innovative, upcoming research opportunities that can directly impact the availability of knowledge that we have. So with that, I guess I'll talk a bit about research and kind of our experiences with research. So I think the majority, I'll say, of students who end up in the Bachelor of Health Sciences program, or like a large portion of them, do end up get involved in research fairly quickly within their undergrad. So within the first 2 years or so, a lot of students will try and do summer studentships. So that's basically an award you get in which it provides you some funding so that you can work over the summer doing research. Students will volunteer oftentimes in their first year for research or work a research job. So in that case, I started working a research job, not after my first year, but after my second year. I started working as a research assistant looking at medical school education curriculum, which I thought was very fascinating, and essentially had the opportunity to kind of grow from there. So in my third year health and society practicum, I looked at something called community engaged learning, which basically a partnership between medical students and medical schools and partnering community organizations to understand how that can be for the mutual benefit of the community. And then following that, a summer of looking at an Indigenous health elective, I ended up doing my thesis, which I've talked about countless numbers of times. In this past year, and actually the picture on the far left is of me in Vancouver presenting a poster of my research, which was at a conference, which was an incredible experience and super fun. Since then, I've had the incredible opportunity to work, as I mentioned, in homelessness, aging, and harm reduction focused research, and also have continued with an external professor as well, looking at health data systems and how those can better serve the needs of community members. So it's been an incredibly fulfilling experience that has afforded me the opportunity to meet so many different people and travel to different places, which is great. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Noelle.
Awesome. Thanks, Carolyn. So for me, I'd say my research experience was kind of all over the place. I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to start doing some research in high school, so I got introduced to it there. And I actually started off by working in a bioinformatics lab at the Arnie Charbonneau Cancer Institute. And I worked with different computational tools to identify different transcription factors that were responsible for tumor cell invasion in glioblastoma patients. And so that was a really cool experience, but I was like, okay, let me try something else. Let me try a different area of research. And so I went to the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, ended up loving the research over there. And this is the really cool part about being in bioinformatics and having like a bit of a comp sci background now, is that I can just like switch between different fields depending on how I'm feeling. And my thesis project was actually on detecting the origins of drug resistance in different parasitic worm species. So I defended that yesterday and it went well. And I think my research experience overall has been really rewarding because I got the chance to present at different conferences, and then to collaborate with researchers from all around the world. So that picture in the middle is actually of me presenting my research at a conference in Scotland. It was an international research conference and the first international research conference I went to. So it was a really, really great opportunity. I got to meet a lot of really cool people and I got to learn a bit about the culture in Scotland too. And I really appreciated how rewarding the research process has been overall. And for when I first started, I thought it was extremely intimidating, but I think starting research is great, and it's always going to be a little bit intimidating, but you'll find that it's really worth it in the end, and you'll learn so much from it. And with that, I'll pass it to Brian.
Yeah, so I haven't gone to a conference like Carolyn and Noelle have, but I just put a picture of kind of my setup in the lab when I'm not working in the biosafety cabinet both that you saw earlier. In each of those wells, there are like 500,000 immune cells in there, and I treat them. And yeah, that's kind of my research. I remember showing the pictures of the mitochondria, so I look at that. But more in terms of what research is like, I think the biggest thing is it's very collaborative, and I know a lot of you people may be scared to get involved, but it really is welcoming. I think the best thing about the BHSC program is that they pair you with a mentor, and Tharwat will send an email out a few months into the school year. So keep an eye out if you're passionate about immunology like I was. I got paired through my to my research supervisor with the mentorship form that you fill out. So I highly suggest that. It's really not that as bad as it sounds. Like researchers are just regular people too. And it's as long as you have a good support system, it really is not that difficult. And I hope everyone in biomed and the single HSOC person here has a great time in research because it really is fun and you get what you put out or you get what you put in, sorry. And I hope everyone really enjoys their opportunities, the opportunities that we have in the BHSC program.
Awesome. So I'm not sure if the slide has changed yet. I think there's a delay between I click and when I change, but this slide is talking about, so what do we do outside of school? So I know we've been talking a lot about academics and research, and it may seem like we don't have lives, but I promise that we do when we're not about to defend our theses. So I just, wanted to give a little intro. So I actually have found that I've had a lot of time to explore my interests outside of school. Not a ton of time, but when you manage your time effectively, you can find opportunities to get involved. So I like to hike and do like outdoorsy type stuff. I really like to camp and backpack and all that kind of thing. I thought this picture somebody took of me climbing up this, I don't know, wall in a canyon was just, I'm like, it's pure joy on my face. So I thought that it would be good one to show how I feel when I'm in the outdoors. I like to see the world. I think research is a great way to travel more. So I mean, in terms of like career wise as well, that's definitely something to consider. I love to read. So if anyone wants to talk about books at any point, I am definitely the person to do that. And also volunteering. So I know that that's somewhat related to school, but I've had the opportunity to explore pursuing my own interests in terms of volunteering, I guess. So I talked earlier about sustainability, and I've had the opportunity and blessing to co-chair the Sustainable Development Goals Alliance for the past 3.5 years, which has been incredible and just a fantastic experience. I actually co-founded a nonprofit focusing on adolescent sexual violence prevention in my undergrad, which was also an incredibly fulfilling experience. Though it was, of course, challenging and there was a lot of effort that had to be put in. I think that I got a lot out of it. And it's just been, an incredible experience that, would highly recommend making time for hobbies. That's the takeaway here. And with that, I will pass it on to.
Yeah, and I think there's so much time to still have a life outside of the BHSC program. I think I just do like a bunch of random things, honestly. The picture on the slide is of me. I went to Vancouver with a couple of friends, and this is just of me hanging out in my hotel. So I think you get the opportunity to hang out with a lot of friends and make a lot of friends in BHSC, which is great. But outside of the program, I also just do a lot of I'm part of a lot of clubs like Carolyn as well. Um, I'm part of clubs for drug education, for bioinformatics education, artificial intelligence and medicine education. A lot of it is education focused, and I've really found a passion for that. And then I also enjoy singing and playing instruments. So I sing and I play a couple different instruments as well. But yeah, there's always time to do what you love. And I think getting involved on campus is a really great way to ensure that you kind of have a good social life as well. I often find that actually getting involved really helps take away some of the stress that I have from my coursework. I'll pass it on to Brian.
So this is a picture of me reffing. hockey. So I played hockey for 10 years, and something I do outside of school is ref hockey, and it's a great way to de-stress. I'll keep it short. I think best thing is find time for yourself because school is busy. There you have a lot of demands in terms of clubs, let's say, and your workload. So try out a lot of new things, figure out what you like, and keep doing what you do. Don't sacrifice, let's say, exercise or meeting with friends, talking with family to get 4% or 3% better on a test, you know? Like those things matter and having those connections really do matter. But yeah, moving on.
Yeah, so if we could give you any advice, so this of course will, take all of this with a grain of salt. This has just been our experience, but if I could start out by my number one piece of advice would be to get a hobby. I think it's really important if you don't already have one. But even when you come to university, it is a big transition, and I don't want to downplay that at all. And sometimes you do kind of find new parts of your identity and that experience can be challenging, but it can also be incredibly fulfilling. And you might learn that you are interested in activities or want to try something that you haven't tried before. So I just think it's really important to carve out time for doing stuff unrelated to the grind, so to speak, or just constantly be working on school or work. I think not doing so is a great way to burn out very quickly. And I'll say that it's okay to try on stuff for size. So if you join a club in your first year and you're like, I think this will be great. Then it turns out it's not really what you're thinking, or you realize that it's not what you wanted or whatever, you just don't like it. That's totally okay. And it's okay to take a step back from things. Of course, like follow through on commitments and responsibilities, but if you try out, you join a club for like the puzzling club or something, and you realize I actually hate puzzling, it's okay to try something else and redirect and not beat yourself up for it because you took the step to try something new, and that's enough. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Noelle.
I think it's important to know that there will be difficult periods in university and you may feel imposter syndrome. I know I did, but there's always something to look forward to and you'll gain a lot of experience along the way. I think a lot of us, like when we actually went into first year, we felt imposter syndrome. We felt like we didn't belong. The truth is that if you get into the BHSC program, you're supposed to be there and you're qualified enough to be there. And it's important to know that. And to not get too discouraged if you encounter any challenges. You're all going to face challenges, and that's just a natural part of life. It's just important to keep pushing through and figuring out what you can learn from those experiences. I'll pass it on to Brian.
And I think completely echo what both Carolyn and Noelle said. I think for me, the biggest piece of advice I would give is make friends and be kind and get friends, develop a community because like the people you meet in BHSC will be the people you talk to in 5, 10 years. And working on those late night lab reports, presenting your thesis to your friends because you're worried that you can't fit it in the time limit. Those small things really matter and they really help, they motivate you. And having those friends to really support you will make your life a lot easier and your time in the BHSC very enjoyable. I think the biggest thing that I gained was I met so many people who are amazing, extremely talented, and extremely understanding of who you are. And I think that's what I took away from the BHSC program. And finally, so the most important part, this is the QR code to confirm your participation and then get that early registration. So if we'll give you a few minutes to scan that, and please do that. And yeah, we'll wait for a bit. We'll give it like 20 more seconds.
I guess in the meantime, just while people are finishing up scanning, Jennifer just had something to mention really quick before we have a little bit of time for questions.
I just want to thank Carolyn, Brian, and Noelle for providing this valuable glimpse into what it's like to be a Bachelor of Health Sciences student. That was the purpose of this event, and they did that so capably. I would also like to thank all of you for logging in today. I'd like to acknowledge that we've got participants here from many parts of Canada and even other parts of the world. So thank you for logging in from the other side of the world. When we get to the question and answer portion, I know a lot of you have concerns about registration. And I have AP courses, I have IB courses and all that kind of stuff. Please don't worry about that. I will be hosting some registration webinars where you can come in and ask your questions. I will put my email address in the chat, and you will be getting a lot of registration information and guidance from me. So registration's not going to happen until near the end of, later in May. So we've got lots of time to work through this. So once again, thank you for your attendance here today.
I think we can move on to questions now. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and then we'll get to them in order.